He just wanted his breakfast, nothing fancy. A booth by the window, black coffee, eggs, and a seat where no one bothered him. But that morning, it wasn't the eggs that got cold. It was the air. Tense, sharp. Two cops walked in like they'd done it 100 times before, but this time their eyes locked on him. "You buy anything?" one asked, voice stiff with suspicion. The man barely blinked. "Coffee. Breakfast coming." That wasn't good enough. They pressed. Questions turned sharp, then disrespectful. The waitress tried to speak up, got waved off. The owner stepped in, got ignored. But the man didn't raise his voice. He didn't plead. Instead, he reached into his jacket, pulled out an old flip phone, pressed a number on speed dial, and said just 5 words. "It's happening again." And right then, everything started to change. It was one of those gray Tuesday mornings in a southern town that always feels like it's on pause. Sky hung low like wet concrete. Even the streetlights seemed unsure whether to stay on or turn off. Vine Street was just waking up, dry cleaner humming, a pawn shop unlocking, and Henry's Diner nestled between them, where the coffee wasn't great, but the people made up for it. Inside back corner booth sat Clarence Dupree, same spot every week, jacket worn at the shoulders, beard trimmed but scruffy, eyes tired but alert. He smelled of rolled tobacco and coffee grounds. Didn't say much, didn't need to. Everyone here knew him. Carla, the waitress with 2 kids and a sharp tongue, always had his usual ready. Scrambled eggs, grits, 2 strips of bacon, toast, coffee, black, no sugar, no cream. Harold, the diner's owner, swore Clarence could run the place better than he could. To the outside world, Clarence looked like someone barely hanging on. No fixed address, same old boots, nowhere special to go. But in this diner, he was family. The kind of man who didn't speak unless it mattered. The kind of man who carried his silence like a shield. Nobody ever asked why he kept to himself. They just respected the fact that he showed up, every Tuesday, without fail. Until the day those 2 officers walked in and decided he didn't belong. They came in quiet. No lights, no sirens. Just the sound of the bell above the door and the weight of authority walking in like it owned the place. Officer Langley, tall and tight-jawed, moved like an ex-linebacker who never quite gave up the game. His partner, Officer Reese, was smaller, but no less sharp-edged, clipboard tucked under one arm. Carla greeted them like she always did, polite, controlled. "Morning, officers," she said, but they didn't respond. Langley's eyes were already locked on Clarence. "You a customer here?" Clarence nodded. "I am. You buy anything?" "Coffee. Breakfast's on the way." Langley didn't like the answer. "You got a receipt?" Before Clarence could reply, Carla jumped in. "He's fine. He's here all the time." Langley shut her down with a look. "Did I ask you?" Harold started to rise from behind the counter, but Clarence just raised a hand. "It's all right." He reached slowly into his coat, pulled out a VA card, edges worn, name faded. Langley scoffed. "This all you got?" "It's all I need." They weren't done. They asked for ID, asked how long he'd been sitting there, asked if he was homeless. Clarence answered each question without raising his voice. "I don't have a house," he said, "but I've got a home in this town." That wasn't good enough. Langley leaned in. "You got smart answers, huh?" Nobody said a word. A couple at a nearby table stared at their food. A delivery guy by the door shifted uncomfortably. Nobody stood up. Clarence picked up his fork, cut a piece of egg, chewed slow, swallowed. "I served in Iraq, worked security back home till my knees gave out. I don't steal, I don't beg, I pay for my food." But Langley wasn't listening. He wasn't there to hear. He was there to prove a point. Clarence didn't raise his voice, didn't get up. He just leaned back, wiped his mouth with a napkin, and reached into his coat again. This time it wasn't a wallet. It was a battered old flip phone. One of those models nobody used anymore unless they had no other choice or didn't want to be tracked. Langley stiffened. "What's that?" he barked. Clarence flipped it open slow, thumbed one number, and brought it to his ear. The line clicked. A pause, then 5 calm words. "It's happening again," he said, then closed the phone and set it next to his plate like it was nothing. The whole diner fell into a kind of frozen hush. Nobody knew what that call meant, but everyone could feel the weight of it. Langley narrowed his eyes like Clarence had just pulled the pin on something. "Who the hell did you just call?" he demanded. Clarence didn't flinch. "You said you were doing your job," he replied, voice low and steady. "Now I'm doing mine." The front door slammed open so fast the bell above it didn't even have time to ring right. Just bounced off the wall with a metallic thud. A man in a navy suit and black overcoat stepped in like he owned the room. Didn't flash a badge, didn't need to. His presence alone made the air feel heavier. He walked straight to Clarence's booth without glancing around, held up a black ID case. Assistant Director Mark Sorrell, Department of Justice Langley froze, hands still hovering near his cuffs. Sorrell's voice was sharp and flat. "Officers, I'll need your badge numbers." Reese stumbled, tried to speak. "Sir, we were just responding." There was no complaint. Sorrell cut him off. "We monitor open frequencies for keywords. You've both been recorded from the moment you entered this diner. You were questioning a civilian without cause. This man is a veteran, not a suspect." Langley tried to push back. "With respect, you're not our supervisor." "No," Sorrell replied, eyes hard as nails, "but I am your investigation." Clarence didn't say a word, just leaned back, picked up his coffee. Around the diner, everyone was watching, everyone had heard, everyone had seen, and nothing those officers said could change that now. Because the worst part wasn't the confrontation, it was the camera still rolling on Reese's chest, capturing every word, every move, every silence. "I suggest you both step outside," Sorrell said, calm as ever. And like boys caught stealing from the cookie jar, they did, without another word. The body cam footage leaked before lunch. Nobody knew who posted it, but it spread like wildfire. TikTok, Twitter, Reddit, everyone had something to say. By evening, Clarence Dupree wasn't just a man who got harassed at a diner. He was a symbol, a veteran, a question mark wrapped in dignity. The video showed everything: the calm, the quiet, the call. People dug into his past. What they found turned the narrative inside out. Old photos from Fallujah, redacted commendations, whispers from veterans who knew his name but hadn't seen his face in years. Turns out, Clarence wasn't just a soldier. He was elite, Task Force Wolfhound, hostage recovery, classified missions. No medals hung on his wall, no speeches ever made. Just a trail of excellence buried in silence. Back in the diner, Clarence didn't know any of it was happening. He didn't do social media, didn't care for it. He just read the paper and drank his coffee. But the internet had spoken, and the country was listening. Some called him a hero. Others called him a wake-up call. Either way, nobody was calling him invisible anymore. By Friday, both officers were suspended. The mayor gave a press conference. The police chief stumbled through a pre-written apology. Protesters gathered, small, quiet, but present, holding signs that read, "I am Clarence Dupree." Reed deleted his social media. Langley tried to go private, but screenshots of his past comments spread before he could blink. Turned out this wasn't his first complaint, or even his fifth. Meanwhile, Clarence received a letter from the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. It offered housing, therapy, expedited assistance. "I didn't ask for this," Clarence said, holding the envelope like it was heavy. "No, sir," the man replied, "but you earned it." And maybe that was true, but Clarence didn't feel like a hero. Heroes get to sleep peacefully. He was still at the shelter, still folding his jacket under his head, still stretching his knees every morning. But something had changed. Not the pain, not the struggle, but the silence around it. It wasn't quiet anymore. The following Sunday, Clarence came back to the diner. No cameras, no fanfare, just locals, just regulars. He stood by the booth, cleared his throat, and waited until the room hushed. "I'm not a hero," he began. "I didn't plan to be a story. I came in for eggs and coffee like always." He looked at Carla, then at Harold. "Y'all saw me, not as a problem, not as a project, just as a person." He turned to the rest of the room. "But some folks didn't, and maybe now they do." His voice didn't rise, but every word landed. "I wore this jacket in the desert, watched men die in the dirt for a country that forgets them once they're out of uniform. I didn't ask for praise. I asked for a seat. I didn't demand a parade, just a plate. He paused. There are thousands like me. You won't see them on the news. Some are homeless. Some just stopped talking because they got tired of being invisible. But hear me, being poor isn't a crime. Being tired isn't weakness. And asking to be treated like a human being shouldn't feel like a threat. He finally sat down. Nobody clapped. Nobody needed to. Sometimes the truth is loudest when it's quiet.